Okay, with Bruce Young, a filmmaker from South Africa, Scales the Tipping Point is the short film, or it's 40 minutes, so it's almost a feature film, but it's a long formatted short film. It's
Yeah.
about the pangolin, right? Which is an anteater. Is it an anteater?
They eat only ants and termites, but nothing else. No vegetables, no nothing else at all. They don't have teeth. They have a long, sticky tongue.
So if anybody's listening to this right now, they can Google the what a pangolin looks like because it's a pretty cool creature. But you seem to be fascinated by
They are
this creature, right? Like this is your third film about just about this animal, right?
exactly. So going back to 2017, giving you a quick thumbnail of my journey
Yeah.
with these remarkable creatures, a filmmaker friend of mine, cameraman, said to me that I want to help him make a film about pangolins, and I said all I knew about them was that no one ever saw them. They're nocturnal. They're mostly nocturnal. And they're very, very shy and reclusive, and no one ever sees them. So I said, why do you want to make a film about an animal that'll take us the rest of our lives to find, And he said, did you know that they're the most trafficked mammal on the planet? And then I got interested. I said, why? And we started talking. And that was the beginning of my journey with them. But I really got connected with them through the people who are conserving them, looking after them, rehabilitating them, putting them back in the wild from the wildlife when they're retrieved from the wildlife trade. A couple of people who are researching them because very little is known about these animals. And I just got hooked. And then I held one in my arms, and it looked at me, and I looked at it, and it's got this sense of sentience when you look into its eye, and that's where the title for the first pangolin film came from, the eye of the pangolin. You look into that eye, and you know there's someone home. There's a very, very interesting, powerful being inside that animal, and that was the beginning of my journey, 2017. And now, wow, 9 years later, I've been involved in three films around the animal. And Scales the Tipping Point was the follow-on to Eye of the Pangolin, that first one. And then one of the rehabilitators is Lisa Highwood in Zimbabwe, and she offered us a story about an individual animal
Yeah.
called Korsha, and we made a film for PBS Nature, which is going out late this year or early 2027. They haven't given us a release date yet, and that's about this particular animal. And if any of you audience have seen a film called uh, My Octopus Teacher, you'll know the power of connecting with an individual
Yeah.
creature rather than just a species in general. And so Korsha is a beautiful film about this animal's journey with the Tiki Highwood Foundation in Zimbabwe. Um,
So
so,
let me ask you a few questions then, because it's just to get things interested.
mm,
Why are they the most trafficked animal on the planet? Like why? Well, like first question, why is that?
okay. Their scales are used in the traditional Chinese medicine world as a remedy, and that very fact is at the heart of Scales the Tipping Point, because it's very easy to point a finger at the Chinese and say, okay, they're destroying these animals. They are the reason that they're so trafficked. Because there are four Asian species and there are four African species, and the Asian species are pretty much wiped out as a result of this trafficking for their
Okay.
scales. And now they're coming for the African pangolins, and the attrition rate is really, really high. It's not sustainable. These animals will be gone if nothing happens, if nothing changes immediately. These animals will be gone within 10 years. And that's the general consensus of all these pangolin experts that I've spoken to. But they grind the scales down into a powder, and then they use them as a remedy for many diseases and maladies in the health arena.
So
And
that's not a bad thing, like just from a human narcissistic point of view, which we are, where we kill animals to eat, right? So that doesn't
They
seem
do
like a
eat.
bad thing. What they're doing, they're not like kind of like what they do with elephants in Africa, where they just like they just try to grab the tusk for for pure greed, I guess, right?
Well, what's happened in the Chinese pharmaceutical industry is that they're sort of storing up these scales, and they obviously the animals have to be killed first
Yeah,
to have this. So when you say it's not that cruel, it's elephants are killed for their tusks, rhinos are killed for their horns,
yeah,
pangolins are killed for their scales.
yeah,
And because the pangolin is such a peaceful, defenseless animal, I mean, its
yeah.
major defense is to roll up in a ball. So a poacher doesn't have to shoot it, doesn't have to hack the horns or the tusks off. It just rolls up in a ball, pops in a backpack, and off they go. You know, that's its major defense is its greatest weakness in terms of human trafficking and human poaching.
Yeah, and you almost talked about like how they have soul, where they're like there's a depth to them, right? Where like there's an intelligence to them, right?
Mm, mm.
They don't happen to be like us, where we have thumbs and we can move around and we can kind of like so we can evolve faster, I guess, right? But they seem to be very intelligent animals, basically what I'm saying.
I'm of the belief that all animals have sentience and have deep intelligence.
Yeah,
Some of them, it just appears more obvious to us as
yeah,
humans.
okay, yeah, that's
Uh,
fair. Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen Scales, the film, but the main character
yeah,
in
of
the
course,
film,
yeah, yeah,
Ian McCallum, talks about, you
yeah.
know, we think we are the apex species, the master species on this earth, which is just
It's ridiculous. Yeah,
it's
it's
quite
ludicrous.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's sort of
yeah,
like, you can you can say that most of the population does not believe what we just said, right?
mm, yeah.
They from
So
religion, from ideology, from just because we own the planet, they think that we're like the smartest,
yeah,
best creature there is, right?
so that's why, as a storyteller,
Yeah,
through films, I'm
yeah,
trying to help people understand that there's more to this natural world than most of us
yeah.
believe.
I guess what I said meant is that like it's a I can subjectively argue that it's a lesser evil, meaning that it's meaning that like they're not just taking the elephants and just like butchering them and like just doing it for money, right? There's
Yeah.
like there's at least they're doing it for something. I'm not saying it's
Well,
right. I'm just saying it's a lesser evil.
well, if you remember in the film,
Yeah,
we discovered that it is actually the Chinese pharmaceutical companies that are at
yeah,
the heart of this cruelty. So it is greed. It is greed
gotcha.
into
Yeah,
it's not just, oh, we're using these animals to heal humans, you know.
I gotcha.
Um,
Yeah.
um, but
No, I'm not giving the pharmaceutical companies like in the Western world or China a pass, right? Like they're
no,
the greediest bastards there are, right? But
that
yeah,
they're at the heart of a lot of issues on this planet.
yeah, a
Those
hundred
two those.
percent.
Mm,
And I
mm.
guess I'm just being subjective. I guess they're not putting something thing them on the wall and saying, "Oh, look at what I just killed." I don't know. For some reason, that's worse than that. But
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. It's just, bad is bad, right? So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, they're beautiful animals. They really are.
They're incredibly gentle. They're so full of character. I mean, there's certain animals like dolphins, elephants. I mean, you pick your animal. All of us have an animal that we really connect with,
Yeah,
and these people who work with them are just their heart and soul in that world, in that job that they do. You know, day in and day out. And I've asked them, you know, don't you get overwhelmed by the numbers of pangolins trafficked? Those images of shipping containers full of scales,
yeah,
thousands of pangolins, you know. And I say to Lisa Highwood or any of the conservationists around pangolin world that I've worked with, and they say we just do one at a time. We just as they come in, we take care of them, and get them back into the wild. That's all we can do. But of course, they do far more. They're involved in campaigns, awareness campaigns, in raising the science. Yeah, it's a complex world, but I've been immersed in it now for 9 years, and it's given me an enormous purpose as a filmmaker and as a storyteller, which is a big reason to get up in the morning.
That's amazing. Okay, let's talk about the making of your film. It's so well photographed. You make yourself the main character of the film. You kind of tell your journey about your kind of journey about I haven't seen your previous films, but this one kind of tells the origin story about like why you did what you did, and you kind of described
Mm.
it here in the podcast. And so tell me about like kind of like building a script, like building the film together, because you got all these amazing interviews. Are you like who are you working with, by the way, to get these amazing photographic shots in your film? Are you working with a cinematographer or
We have had on the last two pangolin films the most amazing cinematographer in
yeah.
Africa, in my very, very humble opinion.
No, it's
Natural
a
his
great. I've seen a lot of films. I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of environmental films. This is a really well photographed
Yeah,
film. Go ahead.
his name is Warren Smart, and he lives just outside Cape Town, and he's been filming in the wild for 15, 16 years now. He did a lot of the footage, the topside footage on My Octopus Teacher. So he's involved with a film that won an Oscar for its storytelling, and so that was a huge, huge plus. He and Warren and I get on very well, and okay, let me just jump back quickly to the first film. I wasn't meant to be on camera for Eye of the Pangolin or for Scales,
Yeah.
but our main character just wasn't available enough. We couldn't get him to commit to being with us as much as we needed. And so my partner in that film, Johan Vermeulen, and I sat one day, like when we just had a phone call from this guy and said, "No, I'm sorry, I can't meet you tomorrow." And it's like, okay, we got to change the plan here. And I started out in the film business as an actor, so I've been on camera before. And in that moment, we just flipped the script. We had a wish list for this one guy to be in all these scenes. And we just sat there and workshopped a whole new vision for the film with me as the character that the audiences could connect with. And we
Yeah.
made it about these two filmmakers who traveled through Africa looking for the four African pangolins, trying to get them on film together for the first time ever. So that's how I got on to the other side of the camera. And then while we were making that film, I realized that there was just so much more to this whole story than we captured in Eye of the Pangolin, and I wanted to make a second film. And I had a lot of buy-in from a lot of the pangolin people who we'd met in that first film, and so Scales became a deeper exploration of the question why were these animals going to probably disappear in our lifetime. And I'd met Dr. Ian McCallum, the guy who is in the black and white
Yeah,
sequences
I
with
was going to
me.
get to that in a bit, but you could talk
Yeah.
about now why you kind of made
So,
him black
so
and white.
Dr. Ian McCallum is a psychologist, a medical doctor, a poet, a wilderness safari guide. He's just your classic, beautiful, wise old man of the bush. He is deeply, deeply philosophical and passionate about the wild. And I met him on a film that I directed came out in 2015 called Bloodlines, about the canned lion or lion breeding industry here in South Africa. And he was in that film, and I connected with him, and I've stayed friends with him ever since. And I asked him if we could have a conversation about this issue around the pangolins, not an interview. It would be a conversation with going back and forwards between the two of us. And that's the reason for that sort of structure and putting it into black and white, so that we could differentiate that we were journeying into this question around the story of these animals.
Yeah.
And so that's how I came to be on camera. I'm not on camera for Pangolin Journey to Freedom, which is the cautious story. That's a much more classic, conventional film style for PBS Nature in the US.
Yeah.
And so that has the conservationists and the animal telling the story, you know.
Your film could almost be described as an environmental crime film because you kind of go like there's a scene where you kind of go undercover and you get the bad guys, right? You get the poachers who are working for the Chinese. It sounds like a movie, but it's true real life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, it was. I hesitate to over dramatize that whole scenario, that sequence, because I wasn't undercover so much. I was just with the team, the
Yeah.
South African wildlife police team,
Yeah.
who Ray Jansen goes
You did a drive,
undercover.
they call it in like with cops when you go with a cop on night. You did a
Yeah,
drive
yeah,
by, right? So yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. So I was just observing. I mean, Ray was undercover, and he met with the poachers, and as they brought out the pangolin for sale, then the cops came in and took them down. And as I say in the film, I was really expecting to see major bad guys and heavyweight, crime, and they were just ordinary, sad people trying to make a buck,
Sure.
and
What
really,
did you expect, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought of, yeah, it was a very
They're going to
interesting,
go after the desperate people. They're going to get the desperate people to
yeah,
do that work, right?
yeah.
And then
And
they're
as
they're
Ray,
not they're not implicit. They're far away, far removed.
yeah,
It's sort
yeah,
of like getting the drug street corner guy and
exactly,
arresting him and not arresting the kingpin, right? Like
yeah.
that's who you have to go to. You have to get to the kingpin. Forget about these
And
guys. These guys are there's nothing wrong. They're just trying to survive, right?
that's exactly what Ray Jansen says in the film. They're not the head of the snake. They're
Yeah,
not the main guys.
yeah.
Yeah,
So how
yeah,
do you get to the kingpins? That's the question. You got to go undercover in China.
yeah, yeah.
That should be
And
your next film. Yeah,
yeah, I found it very difficult to get into China as a filmmaker. I had a
sure.
producer in Beijing set up there,
Well, you
and she,
can't. You got to be a tourist. You can't say you're a filmmaker, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Now that's a very different. That's another level of filmmaking.
yeah. Of course it is. But
Mm,
that's where you wonder because these guys wonder how many degrees of separation they are, right? Because
yeah,
you interrogate these guys. What do they know? They probably don't know much. There's probably a middleman to the middleman to the middleman, right?
yeah, yeah. No, it's a huge web, that the
Yeah.
international wildlife crime network is massive. Pangolins are just one part of it. You know, more pangolins are taken than any other animals that we know of, but plants, insects, snakes, it's huge, huge. I mean, there's a
It's
there's
crazy, isn't it? And
a
it's something that
journalist.
nobody talks about. Nobody knows, especially in the Western world,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
There's a wonderful journalist who we interviewed for our first film, Eye of the Pangolin, called Rachel Newer, and she does amazing work. She goes undercover. She travels the world, opening up these stories. These. But yeah, we all do our bit, as do what we can to try and make people aware, make people think a little bit about what's going on out there. And it's just one issue amongst many and that we're only talking in the wildlife conservation world. There's human issues as well.
100%. Okay, so then go back to the gentleman with the black, the doctor. It's a great filmmaking technique because every time we go back to him, we know it, right? Like, because you're interviewing
Mm,
these people, and it's like he's special. So I'm going to
mm.
make him in black and white. That's sort of what you did, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was an idea. I'm not going to claim that idea. We had a wonderful editor. So I worked with an amazing team on this film.
Yeah.
Warren was our cameraman. The company Silver Bullet Films in Cape Town, I worked with now on a number of projects. They just so committed and so dedicated and so talented. And they have an editor that they use quite a lot, called Gordon. Gordon Midgley. Oh my goodness! I mean, working with a talented visual storyteller as your editor is just such a gift to any filmmaker. You know, as I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was very blessed to have really amazing people, and they, you know, we're a small film industry in South Africa, but we've got some very, very gifted people, and I was fortunate to work with a number of them on this particular project itself.
Yeah, it's a well crafted film. In terms of like working with the editor, did you kind of, how was that process? Did you like, what do? You do the footage and then you kind of write a script first before you do the
Well,
editing?
well, I'm sure I'm telling a lot of your viewers what they know already, but documentary filmmaking, particularly wildlife documentary filmmaking, is happens in three really broad phases.
Okay.
You write a wish list for what you'd like to capture on film, how you would like the story to go, who you would like to interview, what you'd like them to say. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a wish list. And then you've got to raise the money to go out and film as much as you can from your wish list. So you go into the wild, but the animals don't read your wish list, you know. And so you get what you get, and then you interview people, and sometimes you come across people on the shoot that you say, oh man, this is a you could add something to our story. And so you interview them on the fly, and it's really catch as catch can, you know. And you come back with all that material, and you sit down with the editor and you go through everything, and you say, okay, we had our wish list, we went out and shot, and we got what we got. Now let's figure out a story from this material. And sometimes, most times, it's quite different from that first wish list. But when you work with a talented editor, it's and you have a good relationship with him or her, you're able to create a story that is often, well, I feel in this instance, much better than my original idea, my original vision, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, the producers at Silver Bullet Films are very creative, very involved in every step of the process. Diana Keem is a filmmaker in her own right. Wayne DeLange makes films. He's the cameraman, and so it was a very tight group that put this whole thing together. And then you put it out into the world, and we're launching it in the film festival Ambit Arena at the moment for 2026, and so far it's getting a really nice response. So it's very, very validating, affirming, heartwarming to when people out there who you know you've never met, different cultures, different countries, different languages, and they connect with something that you've put up on screen. And as I said in some of my answers to the questions, my filmmaking is really about trying to help people rethink themselves to a degree, their relationship with nature in this instance, and yeah, it's really gratifying when you get a positive reaction to the story that you try and tell. I've also Bloodlines was a film where there was a lot of negative reaction from people from the hunting fraternity, lion hunting fraternity, wildlife hunting fraternity, and so you don't always have positive, loving, kind vibes pushed back into your world when you make a film that is about a provocative issue, a provocative subject, you know.
Well, one of the most haunting moments of your film is the container ship, right? When you guys open the container ship, and you kind of have like we're just talking from the second viewing, where like there's an interesting shot where like you kind of staged it, I guess, because someone must have gotten into the container and taken that shot of you guys looking at it. But that's just like filmmaking. But I didn't notice it the first time because I was so taken by or
Mm-hmm.
heartbroken by that scene where like all these animals are just killed for greed, right? For that pure selfishness, I guess, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
there's the guy you're with, the officer, and he's like he wants to do a he wants to like puts his arm around you and like wants to do like a selfie shot
Yeah,
with you.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and we left that moment in the edit just because he was actually a remarkable character, and as I said in the film, I wondered about him because the Nigerian customs people often are accused of being very corrupt, and their country is a notorious, renowned hub for the wildlife trade, illegal wildlife trade in Africa. And I thought, where's he coming from? Where's this? Is he just bullshitting us? Is he blowing smoke? And then I looked into him a little bit because that's what you do as a filmmaker. You dig and you dig and you dig and you try and find back. And he's actually a really genuine guy, and he'd had some issues with his superiors in the Nigerian customs trade where he wasn't allowing the flow of money from the corrupt sources to go upstream
Yeah.
from him. He was sidelined and pushed out of a couple of really important jobs. So he's just it's a very complex world, and he was a character who I ended up really, really liking and appreciating what he was trying to do
Yeah.
in a very difficult situation.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking. And you like just like and then you keep going back like it's smart filmmaking where you keep going back to the pangolin where like you see them in their environment. There's that shot of like that long shot of them walking and you
Mm,
keep going back. So you're reminding us that these are just living creatures
yeah.
time and time again, right? Like it's just really good filmmaking. It's just like, and it's just like such a like precious creature in so many
Thank
ways, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Matthew. Thank you that you clocked that. You got that, because that was a major aim of ours. Because how can any of us change anything, do anything, unless we start to feel something? Because you talk to anyone in the advertising industry, say people
Yeah,
actually make their gut decision with their heart, not their head.
yeah,
And if we can get people to feel something about these animals, then there's a chance that they will rethink their attitudes and their relationship with their own natural world, the world around them, wherever they are in the world, and look for issues that are closer to home. Then the pangolin must seem very remote to most people. As I said, very, very few people even know about the animal. So if we can touch people's hearts in any way in a natural history project, then in a natural history story, then we've done something good with the film.
have you got any like because you talked about the one film got a little bit of blowback. Have you got any blowback about this kind of really being an anti-Chinese film? Like just from a
No,
macro standpoint.
no. I work very hard to make the film as balanced as possible and to try and talk to people on all sides of the story and the issue.
Yeah.
And because I come from a country where there's an enormously complex racial history, racial
Yeah.
story,
To
and
say the least, right?
to
So,
say the least. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, and so I'm very aware that when I was initially traveling many years ago on a South African passport, I was challenged and confronted when I first got to the States, in particular, um, by white South African. What are you doing and I'm thinking of a black bus driver in Miami who really
They assume
late one
you're
night.
racist. Can we just say it? Like, if you're white and you're from South Africa, they assume you're racist.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So I had this long bus ride with this
But
guy.
you're not. Let's assume that you're not. Let's say that you're not, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very aware of how easy it is to point a finger and be very
Yeah.
simplistic about any issue.
Yeah.
And I tried quite hard in this film to open up people's heads to the complexity of it and the fact that there are many sides to it, and if you understand it, for example, there are very, very incredible wildlife conservationists in China, you know, um, and
Yeah.
people are just unaware of that. All they see is, the bad news about China. That's the superficial version, and I
Yeah.
just try to tell a more realistic, more balanced version
No,
of
you try like yeah, there's nuance to everything, right? And we live
mm,
in a very
mm,
kind of black and white era in our history where this is what I call this the black and white time where like there's no nuance, right? Like it's
yeah,
you're on that side or you're on that side. Like I said, like you're white, you're from South Africa, you're a racist, right? So it's
mm,
like it's like you're on the other side. You're not on our, you know what I mean? Like this that's just the way we
yeah,
judge very quickly, right? And like you said, the one gentleman you're talking to in the film, where like he's talking about the history of Vietnam and China, and like there's context to what they're doing, I guess. Like
mm,
not but it's China, they want to get. It's about being number one, right? It's about the capitalistic pursuit, if you want to call
mm,
it that, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. No,
it's yeah, but
it's a it's a complex world, but it's quite an amazing world too.
I'm glad you still think that.
I do. I mean, what point is there in carrying on if you don't believe? If you don't believe in 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 something that's a little lighter than the enormous darkness that is around us so much these days.
Yeah. This film is not for the faint of heart, especially if you're vegetarian, where you go to the African
The
village
meat,
or
the
and you're seeing them just kill these animals. Like
mm.
it's kind of frightening even to see.
But Matthew, the thing that struck me, and there's a line in the film where I say, you know, what what blew me away was the absolute normality of that bushmeat market in Nigeria to those people, to their world. For hundreds of years, they've lived off the
Yeah,
bushmeat trade. And we go into a supermarket, and all our meat, if we're a
yeah,
meat eater, that is just packaged and neatly. We don't see the animals
yeah. It
being slaughtered, or being, and that's there are many wonderful filmmakers and storytellers who go and tell that story.
yeah.
That our agricultural animals are incredibly abused. And
Yeah.
in so many ways. So it's just sanitized for us in our
And
Western
well,
first
there's
world
a
lives.
saying. I'm sure you have the same saying in South Africa. Nobody wants to see the sausage get made, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And so, like,
So
'cause you do, if you like, say there's a video, say you go to the supermarket, like there's like sausages and ground beef and chicken, whatever, and there's like a video showing you how they killed the chicken
you
at the
wouldn't.
counter, right?
Mm,
Like, who's gonna buy the chicken? Right?
exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
We like to plead ignorance, right? As a
yeah, yeah.
society, we're like, we didn't see anything,
Mm,
so
mhm.
chicken's good, right?
Yeah, yeah. But that bushmeat market was a real eye opener, as you say, it's hard watching for someone from our background, and
Yeah,
but it's the reality. It's what's going on out there, and as I say, it's completely normal.
yeah. That's a film too. That would be a great film
Mm,
about that
mm.
bush meat market, like just a contained film about that. Seems
Yeah,
like a lot of
yeah.
interesting characters, a lot of interesting people who are part
Mm,
of that.
yeah, yeah. That's the beauty of filmmaking, is you can travel and meet people who are very different to yourselves, and if the story's told in a balanced way, you can start to understand them and understand their lives and their situation, and why they do what they do, and you know and I'm sure if they looked at a film about us, in the West, they would be equally surprised and maybe horrified at some things that we take as completely normal.
Sure. But I think there's like one of the like just another macro point, but where I live in North America, we know somewhat about Asia. We know a lot about Europe. We know a lot about South America. The the Oceania. We know a lot about as well. But
Mm,
Africa, there's still that mystery for us,
mm,
right? Lack of documentation, lack of understanding the culture. Like there's a different way of being, right?
yeah. Mm,
And obviously there's a lot of greed, a lot of like corruption, right? But then I'm talking about the speed the majority of people, like they're not, that's the one thing, right? Like I always felt that like just because we're trained to be capitalistically minded and like have a pursuit to get a degree and do all these things, we assume that the rest of the world has the same mentality, right?
yeah.
But I think we've just been brainwashed.
Oh,
But
totally.
yeah.
And that's
It's
why
true, right?
that's why it's important to tell these stories and get
Yeah.
them out there, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they don't like, so we assume that they don't think that way, then they're not as smart as we are, but maybe they're smarter, right?
When we start thinking we're smarter, we're usually wrong, you know.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's
mm.
it's when you're judging others, that's when you have to be watch out for yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Any man who's convinced he's right is usually wrong. That's a, you know, that's an old,
Yeah.
you know, if you're not open in
Yeah.
some way to an alternative point of view or a alternative story, or listening to another man or woman tell their side of things, then you usually, once you've shut up shop and you're not prepared to listen, then you usually
Yeah.
you're in a tricky place. I That's my opinion anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
that's an actor's point of view as well, right? You said you were an actor. That's what they
Mm.
can't judge their characters, right? They're
Oh
everybody's
no.
got a story, right?
Mm. Yeah.
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 All right. Well, what's next for you? Is there a fourth film or is the trilogy over?
No, I feel like I'm done with pangolins. You know, that their story must be picked up. If there's new developments, must be picked up by other filmmakers. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm really interested in a people story now, and uh, I'm just I'm interested in the journey that people make in their lives and their families. And so that's it's a I'm working on a project around family and the importance of story in family and how those are curated and told. And so it's a yeah, we'll see where it comes out. It's quite in the very early development stages at the moment, but I'm doing a lot of research and I have a pretty strong idea of where I want to go with it. But as I said, that's my wish list, and it'll probably change radically by the time it comes out.
So there's a lot going on in your film, like in terms of like there seems to be a lot of people who are about that, like trying to help. Is this? I'm assuming this was funded by that a similar organization to bring this out there more.
Yeah, it's very difficult making a film that is aimed at raising awareness as opposed to making a profit. And so we got funded by NGOs, by philanthropists, by individuals who wanted to make a difference in the pangolin world, who've somehow come into contact with pangolins and want to make a difference in that world. So we built amazing relationships with some of these NGOs and individuals, and it's not easy to fund a film like this,
Yeah.
but they all believed in us and what we were doing. So yeah, it's
So silverbullet.co.za is the website, and the people you can donate to the cause as well, I guess too, right on the website.
well, not that's a film. That's the film company's website. There's no donation button there,
I know.
but
I think there is there. Well, I saw it on your page that scales. If you wanted, there was a link to if you wanted
okay,
to.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, great.
yeah. But
Yeah,
that you worked for you worked for this production company. They hired you to make this film.
no, I went to them and said,
Oh,
"Will you
you went to
help me
them.
make
Well,
this?"
okay,
Yeah,
yeah. But they
yeah,
helped you
yeah.
kind of make the film, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
The If people want to donate, the I can give you the campaign base platform that I made the first film with pangolin.africa. Those are the people that we worked very closely with on the first. In fact, they set up that campaign around Eye
Yeah.
of the Pangolin, pangolin.africa. And they're working in Southern Africa primarily at the moment to change farmers and game reserves relationship with electric fences, because electric fences take out thousands of pangolins every year. So it's not just the poaching. And pangolin.africa are a very that they're
Yeah,
an
I'm on the site now. Yeah.
incredibly effective group of people, passionate, hardworking, and doing a lot of good work. So that's I would really, if anyone is interested in helping and donating, then they're a group that and then the other group in Zimbabwe who I work closely with is the Tiki Highwood, TIKKIHYWOOD, Tiki Highwood Foundation.
Yeah.
And they do amazing work as well. I'm very close to that team as well.
Well, I grew up on action films in the 80s, so my thought is that you need to hire some undercover guy, go to Africa and just assassinate these motherfuckers who are taking these, and then that's the virus. Just execute the virus, and then basically. But then the other argument is that it's like you killed Saddam Hussein, someone else takes the mantle a week later, I guess, right?
Yeah,
So maybe it's
yeah,
just that can't be stopped. Who knows,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
That's the unfortunate part about our life, right?
Yeah.
You're about to say something, but you're
I,
like,
I
good
I-
thought.
I'm wondering how to come back to you on that one. Just put a hit squad together. That's not really my area
No,
of
no, no, no.
expertise.
I'm half kidding, but I'm not, right? It's one of
No, I
those.
know, I know, I
Yeah.
know. I
It's
know.
one of those real like I want it to happen, but then I have to joke about it, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Many things we're not
Like
really
I
allowed
told
to.
you, we're all a product of our environment. This is how I grew up with this, right?
Yeah,
So with
yeah.
Schwarzenegger and Stallone, whatever,
Mm,
that's what they do, right? So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so, but something needs to be done. But it seems like there's a lot of this is the great thing about watching a film like this. There's so many amazing people in the world who are doing great things, and they don't want to go on TV. They don't want like fame and fortune. They just want to do good. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And they just pick a cause and they do it and they work their butts off and for the rest of their life and it's not a that's that it's amazing what happens in life, you know?
It's even just in this world, Matthew, to
Yeah.
meet those people and sense their passion and their
Yeah.
commitment and their I mean they give up so much in order to do
Yeah.
what they do for these animals. And as I keep saying, this is just one area of conservation, and then there are other areas of conflict around the world and issues that so many people. There's a lot of amazing people out there doing amazing work.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I love to see your next film. Good luck with it and let's talk
Thank
again when
you.
your next film is made.
Thank you, Matthew. Good
Thank
to
you.
meet